Should be live. Jumping straight into this. This is a walk around type deal on the map that I'm doing on Transport Fever. It is the central U.S. map with more rivers. Um, I've gone through and I started with doing everything as no cost as I set everything up over the first 3 years. And the premise is I had joked about my uncle Milton, which everyone called Mr. Bradley, uh, gave me this railroad as he went off to New York, work on Broadway, and work with hotels and housing, and left me this to build up. So, uh, catch the reference there. So this is the starting point that I did. I did put in some railroads, some oil stuff. We have farms that are going with railroads, and we will go into more detail. I'll zoom in as requested and required. I know there's a couple interested in what's going on. I have stuff going up through Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay. I have rail lines through Cleveland, Buffalo, Detroit, Indianapolis. I've left purposely alone the Washington, Philadelphia area over here alone and along the East Coast. It is a fairly large map in itself. I've tried this map several times, and you get the map itself, you do not have tree areas. I've added trees to it as I went along. This is what's listed as the trees. On the next generation of the map, you'll see that I've added more, but this is the basics. And I know someone's in the Discord chat with a question. Any questions yet there, Stardog?
No. just watching right now.
So I have a central hub area. All the train lines I'm trying to pull that are doing industry are coming into this area. All the oil is supposed to be coming up and dropping it off here and going back and getting oil down in the south. There's down the Mississippi here. I have oil being produced. They're producing gas and oil, and then they ship it up the river there. Now I did look at trying to get it even closer to like Cleveland and such by boat, but then it becomes a little more difficult. Bridges are in the way, and you can't manipulate the rivers. You can, or at least I haven't found the mod to do it. I can raise and lower and smooth, right? But you cannot add rivers and make them shaped differently. So I have everything from stone being produced. So we are producing production of construction materials. That line comes over, it comes in, and then gets mass sent out to everything. I have food, which at this point I have 1, 2, 3 farms feeding into 3 stations, and they're all coming in, and then they should be shipped out to St. Louis, Chicago, Indianapolis, and Cleveland, and then dispersed from those points. That's the plan. I state that because it does change over the period of time. Actually, looking at some of this, this is way different than what it looks like in the last map. So yeah, I have stuff coming up here to this Chicago destination point, and then it comes back out. We're having goods made. We have tools being made. We have wood being brought in from up here, back down through. If I'm moving the screen too fast, let me know. I need someone to tell me this stuff. I'm just moving at my speed. I do have, we zoom out here, we have transportation of people from Indianapolis up through Chicago, and they loop through Milwaukee, Green Bay, out to Minnesota, which is over this way. Minneapolis, not Minnesota, and then it comes back in through Chicago. I have some underground railroads that come from this point, go back in. Everything for the transportation is double tracked so that I can have a line going in both directions to shuttle people. It does seem to help, but um, some portions are just not as profitable as also ridden as much as other groups. I do have the standard beginner trains on here. Grew from here. It is 1853, so that is our starting point.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and as I'm going through putting all this in, it's like it's why it's not 1850, it's 1853 because I already had stuff move and transfer to make sure I'm not busting stuff up and having issues. I have underground roads to keep stuff connected. It is a really modern train station, but for me to sort of have two groups of passenger trains coming through here and loop the way I wanted, that's how it started out. Yes, started out. It's different. We do have steel being produced up here.
So you just started like a sandbox scenario with this map? Is that how it?
Yeah,
I'm just now learning the game, so basics are where I'm at.
right. No, I started in the free. What is it? The free mode
Free
or
mode or
yeah.
yeah.
And I with this map, and then I just started putting stuff in. I did have the no cost mod on, so it didn't cost me anything to place anything, purchase any trains. And then after I got it all in, then I've turned the no cost off and not used it at all. I have
Just
added
manage.
pork barrels though, that I could get pork barrel money.
Interesting.
So this is literally starting point with everything.
Oh,
Let's
that's
see,
cool.
we're over Cleveland here. We can scroll down through. See, there's a few lines here. Can't make the box any bigger, but that we even have Draco's Stone Freight. We have, I think Peter's Farm is in here. I think I have a Roy's Farm in here. Roy's cheap processing food. Cheap processed food. Yeah.
Nice.
I
Did
do.
you if I can ask, did you play Railway Empire?
Not Empire. No, I did not.
I was just curious. I have that too, and I just wondered. This one appeals to me more, but I wasn't sure it would be the best one to start with.
I've got Mashinki and I've played it a little bit, but I think it's just graphically I like this one better. That one may be easier to learn, and I've used some stuff that I've learned from it just to keep my brain working.
Yeah.
So wood processing being done all by wagons up here. And I've got it paused. I plan on doing actually loading up the next step as I went along so we can see changes instead of waiting for changes to happen. So that's
Cool.
the starting point. And
Very cool.
And it will garnish you some money and stuff. You got to be real careful as you go along. Which one am I on right now? I don't know. Let's jump ahead to this one then. Loading will take forever now.
Yeah, loading does take forever in that game. I've noticed.
Especially if you're loading in the first time and you have a bunch of mods, it will only take 4 days to load.
Yeah, right.
If you've loaded and you're reloading, it does take and go a little bit quicker.
I want to install some mods before I start learning it, but I want to be careful and not install something that's going to break it. But I'd like to have the ones that you're playing with. So if I do have an issue, I can ask you about it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I will take the time and write the list down and put it in
Oh
one
no,
of
you
these
don't have to do
descriptions.
that.
Well, no, I should, because if I have it on here, it should be available. So this is further along. Let's see what we've done and added. We still have Draco's line there. We have train lines. We've added plastic line coming in here. One thing that I missed is I do have this depot is supplying all the train lines. One depot. It can get to all of them. It's a little difficult because on a couple of them I had to send them to one line, and then once it got to the end where it can transfer, I had it then go to the line I wanted it on. So there are some add-ons for the extra. What is it? Just the scenery trains. So they're just sitting there. We have those in a couple spots. Trying to decorate.
Yeah.
Not sure how. What year is this? 1872. So this is 20 years later, and we can see that around the sort of the Chicago destination area, Milwaukee's building up closer to this depot. We've got paddle wheels for furniture and stuff. Furniture. Yeah, well, materials, goods, whatever, they're coming in. Goods are shuffling back and forth here. This has 3 different lines on it. I'm using only 3 of the terminals right now. That will change as the time goes on. City's building up along the passenger depot. This has gotten a transformation. This was more of a teardrop because this was just a loop here in Indianapolis before it went back to Cleveland with train lines. The train lines came for the industrial stuff was coming up here, dropping off in Indianapolis, and then it would go on to Cleveland, and I have a run that goes all the way to Cleveland. So one thing that I sort of figured out, if you're going from a large area to a large area and then back to a middle point, you can do that. If you have it going from if you have it from A to B, you'll transport stuff constantly. If you're going from A to B to C, it will keep delivering to B until B is satisfied before it ships anything to C. The reason it does that is because it's the closest point. But if B keeps growing, C doesn't get anything. So it's better to go to A to C and then both of them come back to B. Yeah. That makes any sense. I think it does.
Yeah, I'm still doing the tutorials. I just started, so it's all pretty well above my.
It's above your pay grade
right now, yeah, but it makes sense what you're saying.
And they don't really explain that in the tutorial. It just goes here, take it from here to here, and you'll make money, which you will. But if you want to take from one supply to the other, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, the tutorial really isn't. I'm gonna have to find a series, I think, on YouTube to watch that does a better job.
Failure does an excellent job. He's only been doing the game since it probably came out.
I'll check out, see if he has an actual tutorial type starter.
Yeah, he does deal with some of the good stuff and such like that. I've learned enough. I would recite back to him, but at the same point, I think I'm getting a grasp of it.
Seems like it, yeah. If you understand what's going on here, then I'd say so.
Well, it's the quote unquote God manipulation factor. I want to manipulate what everyone's doing, so I remember what they're doing and just tell them what to do. This is the only thing I can do that. In real life, I can't do that. People don't listen to me.
That's right. Yeah. No doubt.
This junction coming into Cleveland here has taken a lot of transformation. Sort of look at this, sort of think about it, and then see it later on. Oh, it's taken a big change. We have Cleveland's not too big right now, but it's growing. We have a large depot area here because I've got wood coming in, and then this port ships over towards Chicago. We have the rail depot here, factories producing tools and machines in part, so we get a lot of production here. We have the Ford depot here currently. It changes, it grows, it always grows. A double track line coming through that handles, at this point, it's handling just passenger traffic. Back up here into Buffalo. So, a lot going on here later. We have added train line. This train line just runs logs down through process instead of by cart to get to boats to transport from this side of Lake Ontario. Anyone that doesn't know which lake that is, down here to the southern side of Lake Erie, and drops it off, and then it sends it on its way. So we have Cleveland, we have Pittsburgh, we have Cincinnati. A little deformed incorrectly. It's maybe about right. So I live right about here.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, actually, probably more where this goods station is. That would be the Akron area.
Oh, really?
The river's a little off, but hey, we'll give it a. We have a Draco in this area. What was that?
I live about 20 miles northeast of Indianapolis.
Okay, so we have a Star Dog in this area. We have a Draco in this area, and we have a Zig in this area. I think that's oh, if we come over this way, BC, we have BP is probably, I think it's somewhere in this, oh, over this way, just off the map. BP would be over there. So there's our monkey show. Where are they? So let's see what's going on down here. We don't have anything still doing on the East Coast. We have a rail shuttle going just from the oil well production to the processing plant to ship as much fuel and oil up, everyone going. We have another oil well here that's just running carts up through, so should be getting enough oil, and we are at this point. Here's the next 20-year stage. Let's jump forward again. That was B. Let's go to this one. Yeah, I started, if you really zoom in there and see that, it's like I named stuff in stages so I could go back and see what I did if there was a major catastrophe.
Smart.
That way you're not going, oh, what did, you're not starting all over. If you're happy with it, then you can forget about the stuff that's previous. If it's like you've added stuff and I've done it, go along and all you're doing is you make money for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden everything just starts going down because you're not making enough transportation money, but you've got so much expenses going out. And instead of going and just killing it, you just back up one save, and that's where you're at. Move forward again. And you can act, and I've done it that stage so that I can go back 2, because normally 1 step back just gets you to the problem. 2 steps back, you can fix the problem.
Yeah, you're just loading up the next one now. I'm a little delayed.
Yeah.
Watching.
Well, this is interesting because I'll pop in here and I'll look at this and go, um, so what was I doing?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At this stage, I was going, I don't know what I'm doing. Black screen. Waiting for the Star Wars scroll to come up so I know what's going on. There we go. Where am I at? I'm in Pittsburgh. Yay! So Cleveland doesn't look much bigger. Aha! Major add-on. We have added a rail line that comes out of Buffalo, loops around through Toronto, and all it is to carry wood supplies. Carrying logs down to the lumber mill. Got all these planks that are coming on railroad lines. They're still feeding the ships running across, and then there's the train that runs all the way, loops around, and then comes down through here, right into our Cleveland depot. And at this point, it's also feeding then the logs onto the shipping line from here that goes all the way over to Chicago. So if you can keep supplying wood to keep it going out in that fashion, it doesn't matter really where it goes as long as it's getting to where it needs to be, and you're making money on all the different platforms. We've upgraded. I've upgraded the 2-line to a 4-line down through here, and I have got like the passenger rail on the inside and the freight on the outside of the 4, so that everyone can keep moving at their pace, because freight may be going slower than the passenger lines. Let's see, do I have it? I know I just have wagons supplying the steel right now. We do have Detroit line that I have not discussed, but it's been there. It runs through over here, so we have passenger and freight coming in to Detroit. I do have a bit of a tendency to be funny with my naming. If we go to this and do what's close, I have the Detroit Ford cargo line and the Detroit Chevy passenger lines. So you can either go on the Ford line or the Chevy line. Up to you. Not going to argue.
Right.
And I do have a line that comes over here to Windsor in case you want to go gambling. 4 lanes of traffic. Oh, I overspin it there. Make everyone sick. Sorry. We have 4 lanes of rail coming down through. Depots on either side right here, so that we can. I was finding it difficult for the trains to get to where they need to go because I had that many trains out right then. Trying to just do it with one depot is difficult. Now, you can see that the line has changed. I had that newer style station on the first one that sort of just split it. I've gone back to a regular station with more lines so I can have rails running through smoother because of the size that the city was growing. That bridge is sort of awesome. It's a curved line there. I think it's just cool.
That's cool.
Wait for the stream to catch up. There it is. I see it on my playthrough.
Yeah, I like the looks of this game a lot.
Well,
They seem to support it pretty well, don't they?
oh yeah.
Developers.
Yeah. I mean, you can come down here, and other than a couple of weird things that the passengers do, like if they're sitting there holding a basketball in their lap, that looks pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
wow, we can actually see what they're doing on the train. See, there's when the stream catches up for you. they're holding something in their hands, but there's nothing there. I don't know what that is, but it is. I don't know what this water down the funnel type thing that these people have going on, but working okay. So Chicago's growing more. It is 1903. We have plenty of supplies over here at this depot. I have not increased the size of this one at all. This one was doing me good at this point, and then all of a sudden, as we progress through time, we have cities so far around it that I would destroy it, but it would be costly, and I've been able to just work everything through. So we have another depot up here. We've added some more lines coming through to be able to supply enough goods and trains to keep moving people and things about. We have our northern loop up here to Minneapolis. Now I will be right up front and say I messed up with this up here with Minneapolis. I had a freight line for just bringing farm goods down to the farm processing with the wrong train concepts.
Oh.
And it wouldn't bring it. And then I fixed that and then realized I had no vehicles to transport the goods that was food somewhere else. So it wouldn't bring any food. I had a train running for almost 40 years and couldn't figure out why it wasn't producing any funds.
Oh, shit.
It's producing funds if you figure it out.
How long have you been playing this save?
Part of a year.
That's cool.
A couple of months. These farms will produce so much that it almost produces too much. So I've had to reduce how much they ship at times. Let's see here. They're just looping around. They come over. Big bridge over the Mississippi is a big bridge. Big wood bridge. It's surprised that it's still standing there. We have lines that are coming down. Oh, we've added the train lines coming down to the southern part of the country. So now we have the oil coming up with the ships. And yes, I have a few ships in line. We're almost filling them. Trying to keep the fuel running. It's going slow, so we added the train line. And then I've also added a second train line coming over to a second well. So it's bringing fuel down to this processing plants for fuel and oil. It brings it down to this point where it's either loading the trains or the ships. Although at this point it's still more by ship. It does take a little bit to, you have to ship more than what the ships are shipping if you want to go from ship traffic to rail traffic. Rail traffic, if you can keep the speed, is quicker than the boat, but you'll actually make more money by boat if you keep it moving fast enough. So that's why there's these many here. And actually, I probably have gone through and clicked after I saw the line and put them on a double route where it comes from here up to St. Louis, back down to here to the other dock, back up to St. Louis again to its second dock. So it staggers them so that they're on both docks more often. More stops, same route. You know what I'm saying? Explain myself well?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I can make it more confusing even for myself in my own head. So
yeah, well, you understand what you're trying to say sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to explain it, and you go, it didn't even sound right. So we have here in Memphis, we've added the city. I have transportation rail coming into Memphis. I have little bus stops, and I've added, because it's 1903, we have rail cars. There we go. electric trolleys in Memphis. I don't know if Memphis actually does, but they do here.
They do now.
I do have this setup here where it's the passenger line with the freight line after it. I'm only using one side of the passenger lines and the opposite of the freight so that they can pass each other without getting in each other's way. And then as we come up, it comes down to two rails, and then they split to get into, yeah, this snake mess. And this is a mess that I've redone several times. Let's see here. Passenger line will come up on the outside line, and then it diverts over here, stays on the outside, then runs this bridge and then ties in and goes north towards Cleveland. As it comes back down this way, it diverts, splits, and then ties in down here underneath. That way it sort of bisects everything and keeps flowing. I've yet to have any issue with the passenger line except for when, let's see, where's, it's not yet because I don't have them connected. But at a point I have these two lines with the freight coming through here, and then they've got to divert over. So when the freight can't get over, the passenger line's backed up. So that's been the only time I've had an issue with the passenger line being slow through here. Even though it looks a mess, it gets worse.
That looks cool.
This is what I showed on that stream. What day was that? Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. Tuesday. There was 2 depots here. There's only one still yet at this point. There's a lot of traffic going through here. But yeah, a lot of traffic going. The boat coming in that's 3/4 of the way full. So how much is that going to be? So in 1903, I think this is still the largest fuel transport that you can do. Slowly docking here. Get $175,000 for a nearly full load. So I think probably $200,000 per trip for each boat. Grain coming in. So it's just slowly growing. Slowly growing.
That's cool.
Let's see. Jump up here a little further. All the way up to nearly current.
It's like building a huge model train set, realistic train set.
Yeah, and that's
in your basement.
That's it. That's how I look at it, and then I run it that way too. Only place you can tell everything what to do. Trains where to go. Now, by this point, I have added, by this save, I've definitely added pork barrels, but I've added the buyback also so that once I start making money, I can start paying them back. It's a lot of train mods and rail car mods. I do have the farm mod in there, farmer mod, where you can place farms. I have the tree mod where you can add trees in bigger plots. It's not an individual tree. You can do a whole section. I'll actually show both of them here in just a minute once this loads. I have a fence mod where you can add a fence line along also. Those mods don't seem to be much issue with the game. The mods that I see that have issues are the Flying J crossover ones, station mod, a couple of those, and in the map itself, the Ohio 6K one, it with a couple of mods I had, I could never get it to load and start. It
Hmm.
crashed on load up. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe it's the combination that I had. If you're having that issue, the biggest thing is to do is you can start a save with no mods in it, and then add the mods later.
One at a time, yeah.
And you can see which ones are causing the issue. So,
Well, Colonel's got 2 packs right now. He's got the mainline pack, which is his current
right.
playthrough, and then he's got the total collection.
Total collection, I think that's the one that I started off of, and he may have added stuff since I've started my collection, but I don't have it sort of up on. I bumped my mic all over. All right, so let's see here. This is added train line coming over here to Savannah so that I can ship stuff up the East Coast. I've added bus lines in Savannah and Jacksonville, and now those are almost one city. I have, let's see, passenger lines in Charlotte and Raleigh, and they actually have a bus line between them to keep people moving. Same with Richmond and Washington, D.C. Passenger lines connecting all of that. Philadelphia and Allentown are all connected with passenger lines, and then Philadelphia with Washington has a bus service through it. I have this lovely rail service up here now, and it's actually been fairly easy and profitable to start. So the freight comes in, the oil comes in. We're having production of goods. They're coming back down to this station before it comes and hopefully gets on a ship and leaves, head south. It's 1842 on the game. We have Freightline running goods and tools over here to the depot outside of BC and Raleigh. Raleigh? No. Yeah, Raleigh. Richmond and Raleigh confuse me. I keep putting them in the opposite spot.
Yeah.
We come up through here. We can see that I have steel production going on here. The trains actually come up. They drop off also goods at this point so that ground troops can move them to distribution over here. Iron pickup for the steel production, and I have a line that brings the slag up here, and then it produces construction material, and then that ends up probably right back down here to the Allen depot, and then Allentown's probably using up all of that construction material right now. There are airports. I have one airport or two airports, one line, one here from Philadelphia. Speak clearly. And then it lands here in Memphis. So, actually, there's a plane right there. And do we have right there? So that's the Donner marker only carries 5 passengers. It's got 5 passengers on it, but it produces 200 to 250,000 every year that I've had it running. That's just printing money right now. It's good to have a line that's something like that.
Yeah. Do you have to manage all the different types of transportation yourself, or can you set the AI to manage?
If like you want to do where it gets old and it throws on a new vehicle, you can set it for it to automatically do it. But otherwise, you're in charge of all of that.
Cool.
It will tell you though if like trains are getting too old. Come over. We have a list here of every vehicle that you've been on the game. And then you can sort down through by type. You can have just the road vehicles, the ships. If you want to just do the steam trains or all the trains, and it'll separate them. It'll tell you which line it's on, what it's doing as far as on that line. You know, green is a good production, red is bad, and how old it is. And sort them by how the oldest vehicle you have, which ships will get to 50 years before they become old, so not too bad on that list. You can also pull up all your passenger stops. You can pull up all your road depots, all of your factories, what they're doing, if they're doing. Because I have an Atlanta coal mine, it's not producing anything because I have nothing attached to it. But you can scroll through that. All your cities, alphabetically by population if you wanted. So biggest town is, oh, surprise, surprise, Chicago. Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Buffalo, Green Bay. There's your top 5. Shopping facilities. Our biggest ones are, oh my gosh, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland. Milwaukee and Buffalo round up the top 5. For jobs, the top ones are Indianapolis, Cleveland, Chicago. First order there. So you can find out a lot of information. You don't forget you have your line manager where you can pull up all the lines or just your train lines, your trucks and buses, your trolley lines, your airport lines, and your bus or ship lines. I have one line that is doing no good, which is my log line, which I put in. I have 3 stops here. They're all bringing to this point where they're loading up a boat, runs it across, and then I have trucks running it over to wood plant, and it is then running it up over here to this production plant, and then it feeds in. This was so that I could get just more goods into the system.
Right.
That way that kept this busy. Now this is the last reincarnation. I do believe so. This is the last reincarnation that we were watching on the stream. Yeah, here. We'll give ourselves away. I have a few pork barrels out. Each one of those is $500,000.
Whoa.
Let's see here. Is there any other I wonder, is there any other pork barrels out there that I've laid down? You. Yeah, if you need and you have the pork barrel mod, there's no reason not to use it. But it can come back and bite you in the butt because you still got to pay for transportation costs and stuff. So
yeah.
Now this line has always been 4 lines coming up here, but because of the transportation and the rail were clogging each other, I've had to throw in sort of my own Flying J crossover so that then all the industry funnel in by itself, and then they can progress on their way up to Cleveland on one side, and the passengers are all on the other side. And then so that I didn't have them crossing, We have this line comes back through, and then it comes under and does a underground feed that comes out over here, rejoins in, and then it's still back in the center, running down, back out. 3 hours, I think, it took me to get that right.
Jeez.
That's why I don't want to always live stream this, because it will take you freaking forever sometimes to do this, even though you're looking at it. So if you are watching Kernel Failure to learn something, and he's doing one of his builds, and you're watching it, realize that's probably on 16 times speed or faster as he's going through and putting it down and then demolishing it all and redoing it again, and it doesn't work, and we redo it. You know, that's what happens.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you have money coming in, don't be afraid to do that and get it right, because you can easily then have stuff clogged and broken and it's not running right. This was a major rework. I still have the line that sort of came off and came this way, but I've reworked the bridges going over so that my freight were in the middle, the passengers are on the outside coming up, but now they cross smoothly. But this was it comes up and over and bends, and then it's got to get back underneath this bridge. So this bridge got redone a couple of times. Then it's got to loop and fit just right underneath this bridge. So then you get it right, and then you go, well, that bridge doesn't look right, and you go to remove the bridge, and then you've got pillar collisions or terrain collisions. So then you bite your tongue, you delete it all again, and you start again.
It's going to be quite a while before I get to this point. I think first thing I need to sort out is what mods to use, and then stick with it.
Yeah.
And then find a good tutorial series to watch.
And
because you can tell me about all this stuff, but it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point.
No, and I'm just showing it to you. If we start if I'm doing a run through and I'm working on something, it would make a lot more sense. I'm just showing how stuff can grow, and it's not long. I mean, here's 100 years. Cleveland was small, and it's like it's on both sides of the track. I have plenty of cargo coming through. Buffalo's gotten big.
Did you grow that, or does it grow organically on its own?
It will grow organically. You can delete roads and put new roads in, and it'll sort of fill around it.
Cool.
But it grows on its own.
That'd be cool to see.
DC is all grown. I had a couple. They have one road that came up through here for the industry. They're filling this in because I added some up here so that I can have bus routes. It will fill this all in, because this all through here on Richmond, this is all new. It grew this in all on its own.
Wow.
Richmond was just down here by a little bit by itself. It came in and grew all this. So
that's cool. You don't have to do that. It does it organically, like
right. Raleigh's
you can really see the effect of what you're designing, how it affects the city's growth.
Right. And if you have food and goods in one area, you'll have commercial and residential go to that portion. If you have a freight depot, your industry will grow around it. If you have more public transportation, I haven't done anything in Charlotte other than put bus routes. This whole portion over here on the left or south side of the city, that's all new. It grew on its own. I didn't do anything with it other than move people around. Because people can move around, they can then go get their stuff.
Yeah.
Savannah and Jacksonville, they were separate. I've had at one point on one try a rail depot right in between the two of them. It grew into it. I don't have it this time because it grew up before I could get it in place, and it's grown that big on its own just because I had some transportation over here. These cities will grow on their own if you have stuff going to them. The more supplies you have, the more they will grow, the faster they will grow. I mean, oh, have we been? We didn't even look up here at Chicago area. Yeah. Actually, I didn't even realize this. This whole section on the south side of this depot, I never put in. I didn't even put one road in. It's grown that.
Wait for it to catch up.
Yeah. There it is on the stream. All those roads on the south side of the depot.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't do any of that.
Huh.
So I'm going to just do the most current one that that we were actually watching on the stream the other day. And we'll let it run and just watch stuff as it goes.
Cool. Yeah.
It'll be, can I load it? Okay, that I loaded it.
It says 1942 right now.
Yeah, it's loading. It's a mindful game where you got to keep thinking ahead.
Oh, I'm sure.
But at the same time, you can be creative if you plan ahead in the regard of what I've learned. Add more public transportation than you think you need, because once it starts to move people, it will only grow and it will only feed you more money. The goods are the ones that's more difficult to have productive. So the mainline one that Colonel Failure's doing, if you notice, it's all transportation to start with because it's the one that will make the money. He had one transportation with just goods, and it's been, you know, he's upgraded it, but it's what it was just non-stop public transportation.
Right.
So this is 1859, and it's just really, now it's minor adjustments on some of the rails up here, but it's starting some stations.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Well, I know I have, but it's going back from Chicago. It's doing more productive. It's being more productive going to Chicago than it is coming back. But it's one of those lines where it's breaking even, so that's good. Here's the same train going up where it's completely full.
Must be a nightmare trying to develop this.
The developers and others, yeah.
To make sure everything works together.
Oh, yeah. Then you have someone that comes in with mods and fills it all.
Yeah, I'm try to be very selective about what I install.
Okay, so eliminate map to but this is the view that I had put on there for the stream. We're just watching trains roll in and out. That whole time I was gone, this whole line to this direction, all these trains were moving perfectly fine. Not an issue. All this was working. You notice towards the end there was no trains going in from this end because we had something that got stuck right in this junction, and I had to fix it. And that little junction where it was a couple lines coming in, crisscrossing, what, 5 lines going through there now, and it still has issues. You'll always be working on it. That's what I was going to do before I started this. Someone asked about training. I was going to go fly. Nope, I'm here doing this.
Sorry about that.
But here's that same line I've just put on a newer plane. The finances is only skyrocketing from that. So this is a productive item. It's moving people.
I fly Prepare 3D, and I did fly FSX and all the.
That was amazing.
Microsoft Flight Sims. That's kind of where I came from, Flight Sim community.
Well, you're in the right spot then.
Yeah.
So, I haven't done anything with Memphis. I don't even have goods going to Memphis. All I have is traffic moving in and out, and Memphis has grown. It's just amazing. I step back and look at it and go, "Ooh, wow, that's cool."
Yeah. I like the map though. It seems to be pretty good, huh? I mean, it seems a good one to
I like
start
it.
on and play on.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see here. I've added some trees. Let's see here. This is the one mod I was going to go through and explain. So you've got the pork barrels. You can change ground textures. Scroll through all the add-on buildings and the switches and depots. Okay, as the stream catches up here, these flying exchange, the exchange flying junctions and stuff, these are the ones that as you click on them and you bring them up here, these are the ones that tend to get a little goofy. They'll crash your game. Even before you put them in, if you click on it and it's not compatible somehow, game crashes.
Okay.
Ones I have in right now work, but every time I click on it, I worry a half a second. As you change either the kind of track and stuff, it's got to load, and it's just, then it's not a collision and it won't work. It's just the way that it loads. It sometimes just messes with the game, and it'll crash that way.
Just chokes it.
Yeah. So
I haven't installed any of the flying junctions of any kind yet.
that's something that's good to use, but also if you really want to start in 1850 and go and grow it from that point on, it's a slow go before you really need a flying junction.
Yeah.
So the forestry, you can add that by, there's three things here. There's a plan, a plant, and a reset mode. Start off in planning, pop a spot down, click another spot, and you'll see this line grow, and then you can move it about, and it will make a box or circle or whatever you want to do, and you can bring it even all the way over here and sort of go along where the other tree line is, however you want to do it. You can pick the density. The higher the number, the more trees per square foot type deal. So it'll make them tighter or smaller in amount. Let's see. Did I miss you? No, you just jumped in there. Thanks for stopping in, Tracker idiots. Can't be it. It is that. That's how it says. But okay. But you can change from broadleaf to shrubs and all that. but once you have your area planned, hit plant, and then boom, you've got trees in that whole area. It's a lot better than just individually trying to place trees.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. And then you can reset it and start all over again. The farmer one is exactly the same type deal. I don't know. I have to check. It might even be from the same guy, but it's the same principle. You go through planning.
Huh? What was the trees? The one with the trees called?
Forester. And then farmer is the one for.
Yeah, I added the farmer.
Okay. So you can do the same thing. You do an area, and then you can have it as different ground textures: bright earth, dark earth, sugar beets. Sugar beets are potatoes. We at the Monkey Show really enjoy sugar beets.
Yeah.
So we're going to do sugar beets, and then you can do like along the edges decorations, the density of it. There's plenty of things that you can add with it. You can even add a fence around it. So let's put a wood fence. And then once you have all that, you hit plant. And what do you know? You have now rows of sugar beets. Or Peter and BP and Farmer Dad to come harvest. So that is the farmer mod. And if you look, you've got a wood fence around the whole thing. Now you can do that for every field that you want to place in or not place in. And let's see here. Let's come up next to a road here. Do this fence. So the fence mod is just called fences. And it's the same principle. You start along the line. And you can just follow the road up through here. And we'll down this way. And then you can do, whatever type you want to do. Wire mesh, boxwood, metal rods. They have several to pick from. Let's see here. Let's go with metal this time. Which way are you going to face? With the face, and we're going to do left because it's on the right side of the street. And collision. Leave the collision on, so it shouldn't do it. Then you just create it, and we'll zoom back in here. Now you have metal fence along the road.
Nice.
So those couple of mods work really well. And then I have like in place or a truck in here, and then can just be parked along.
There's one called Industry Tycoon. Is that something you use? I don't know what it does.
Okay, yep, I actually do have that one.
TF Industries.
I do have that one.
Okay.
That's this one here in the bottom next to your terrain map. It's Industries.
Okay.
And what it is you can literally go in and place any kind of industry that's on the map. So if you want to put in a new rock quarry or a food processor, any of them that are in the game.
Oh, nice.
Let's see, what would be, we'll just pick one here. Put in a steel mill. All you literally do is you just come in here and now it will cost you to place it.
Yeah.
So you got to have the money to do it, but there, we just placed a steel mill there. And then you can do everything you would with any other industry that's on the map. You can route stuff to it, back from, and all of that stuff.
Huh.
And then you can delete it, and you can also put it as a level 0 where it starts, or you can change the level to full growth. So, like this coal mine that I just picked, level 4. So it will be doing production at level 4 instead of level 0, because level 0 is 3,200 limit, full is 51,200. It's what it can produce all the time. So in that regard, you want to be able to have enough to move that kind of material.
Yeah.
So that's the industry mod. And then with it, you also can place individual like industry buildings in next to. Oh, as we like every 1 tick by jump too fast. You can like individually place buildings like in town. Click off that. You can see that that's an actual building there that will add to the production in that city. So a lot of the mods that you have on that list, they're useful. I ain't going to sit here and say that I know all of them and I know how to use them all well,
cool, yeah.
but
I'm just adding a few of the ones that are like really high rated, and they seem to not have too many people reporting problems with them. That are kind of infrastructure type stuff. And then I'll leave it at that for now. I do like a lot of the stuff, and there's a U.S. mods and assets pack that has a lot of U.S. cars and engines and things like that, but there's an awful lot of them.
So this is the situation I have here. I thought I fixed this. I must not have saved it. I must have been tired and then just turned it off and not saved. I have a train here that has 450 crude oil in the tanks trying to leave. The route takes it. We pull this out of the way. It comes out and it loops through here and comes through the station here. On that track is just a route that runs back and forth that crosses and goes down here to this oil supply. But it can't get there because the other train that's 450, you know, our train is sitting here trying to get in there and it's blocking the path. So the only way to fix this is to actually manually tell this train to go to the depot. Then the train trying to come out will now be cleared to get out, and it will. And then the other train will get in, and then what you do is you put that train that you sent to the depot back on its route.
Does it give you the option of just going in and adding a siding anywhere you need to?
I actually took the time, and that's what I'm saying. I upgraded this depot to add from 6 to 7 tracks. And I just put in that little one on the track that I added. But to do that, you'll see that I've got a collision error with this depot here and stuff. So I had to rework this area completely to get this all to work. I had to reconnect the lines because they didn't match up exactly. So you can do it. It's the process of going, as you grow, this is the stuff that you then have to start not so much tripping over, but dealing with. So it's like, okay, well, we delete the depot, we put it here, different position, and we remove the road vehicle. So, you know, if you really want to do this, you take the time, you bulldoze that. You have lines moving, and now you're going to have, pause this, up here in the warning box. It shows you that you have 10 warnings. You have vehicles that can't get to where they're going because we've just eliminated where they're supposed to go to. You have the routes that they were on that don't have the destination correctly. So all that, now you have to fix all that. It's nice that that warning box is there. It's also annoying. So while you have it demo, just demo this little bit there. You demo that. Then you finish applying your upgrade. So now it's done. Okay, get rid of that. Now the process of, well, you have all these train lines here, and now the tracks don't actually match up. So delete them. Back to the track. Which track do I have? Is that I do not have the cannery on there. I mean, there's a collision. Oh, is there still a little piece there? Then you put that line back in. As you do that, you'll actually see that routes then go back to going able to make their way through because they're now correct. Oh, wait a minute. When you do these crossovers, make sure that you drag them sort of along the track and then slide it over instead of doing like I did there and just willy-nilly just slap it sideways, because it'll try and follow the direction you are going with the cursor. Gently put them there. And then you want to come up and gently move it over instead of, say, going from that point and going sideways, because it'll try and follow you, and then you've got a weird shape and you're going, well, how did I do that? Well, that's because you moved your mouse that way. So move it along the track. Over there. That's good. Now I have this train that's leaving, and technically there's cars sitting here. So you want to watch. You don't want to start demoing or bulldozing from this point and split the train in half. It confuses it sometimes. So if you demolish going back in this direction, it'll just keep moving the train up the track this way, which is fine. It's moving it out of your way. When you put the train track back in place, you'll see all the cars pop back in place. And just cross over and direction's not possible. Why is it not possible? Because the train's in the way, probably. So just remember that your train has to move. Run over here to this side. Yes. I'm going to redo all of that to make it work. Have this tracks in. There. That goes in there. We've fixed another line. That's good. This way. Can I? Yep, we can make that a double crossover there. That one's too sharp. That's fine. What I really want to do is this one off this way. That way. That point. I'm gonna bulldoze this. In. Okay, you'll take it. There you go. Just gives you the option of being able to have trains to get, like, change where they're going to easier. Like if you take it off this line and you want to put it on another line, but you don't want to send it to the depot, it'll sometimes be able to figure out how to get there that way then. Yeah. Let's throw in signals. Signals mods are the thing, and that's one that you want to watch. This one that I have, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but when you go to place it, it's fine. It's like any other placement. But if you wanted to delete it, finding the click box on where to delete it is really tiny, really difficult. And I've gone to, well, it's easier to delete the track next to it and re-put in the track than it is to just find that little click point, because I can't even find it from a further distance. Gotta get in real close. Find it to delete it. So you want to watch that on some of the modded signals. The in-game signal, like I've got one here, like this one. That's an in-game one. It's easy to find, to delete it, on it, whatever you want to do with it. Even the older one. I don't remember what is that style called. One with the little arm though, that those, it's easy to click. They're in the game, but the modded ones, it's difficult to get them sometimes.
Okay.
Right, so let's finish fixing this. Back to the tracks. That track. So we fixed all of those. That's good. Yes, good. Now the only thing that still needs to be fixed is the grounds transportation stuff we tore up. No. Now I have a lot of different road mods in there, and these can be confusing.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Just go with the standard small one. Yes. Okay. Yes. I delete. No, because it's tied in with that somehow. Alright, fine. We'll just let it go for right now. All we want to do is add freight depot back in. Spin that around. There. So all of our warnings have gone away except for the oil well line. Why is the oil? Because we've removed the waypoint. So let's just remove that, and the warning's gone away. So all of our warnings are fixed. And actually we want to fix in that line. Where's back to that train line? Baton Rouge.
I gotta step away here just for a minute or two.
Okay.
Take the dog out. I'll be back
there. Get that. Fixes that line. We can put that train back on the Baton Rouge. Find its way there. That's how you increase a line like that. Duke. This is what I worked on last night and didn't save. I want to get rid of all these trucks this night. A road, bridge, we're going to do lane, cost. Possible. moving again where they need to go. Just to autosave messes with me. Alright, street plate. Oh, medium. Do a little bit longer away, and ramp terminal 0. That, but I bulldoze. So, then we can do click on it, get access to the rail and that's fine. Back to the road. Sneeze. Excuse me. Now we have this there, and they're going to run trucks across all the way here instead of us or the boat running them back and forth. Now we need road people. Great. Should be enough right now. That point. Back again. Star Dogs. Logging transport. There we go. Set a line to transport. What do you mean air? Alright, what do you mean air? Unable to find. S. Okay, route works. To that. All right, so we are pull this up. There. And right here, two. There. So vehicle. Good vehicle now. More. Thank you. Here we go. Unfortunately, the one that you got does it do? I don't understand. It's barricaded deployment. Alright. I'm going to pause this for a moment because you can. I'm going to... I can't. That's impossible. Six-lane road. Guardrail in center. These are 31 miles an hour. I don't want 31 miles an hour. Collision. Come on. See, those are not fast enough. I want them faster than that. They have fast-moving trucks. Probably need a better mod. Those can do that. But just upgrade this all birds down to these roads because they're moved quickly. Fine. Stay like that. All right, fine. Done. All right. This way, Mr. Stardog. See that all these trucks are on the Stardog's logging transportation line.
Nice.
And now we will populate this truck depot with logs, and once it starts to get moving, then we'll actually eliminate the boats because the trucks will move faster than the boats.
Very cool.
For that short distance. So, questions, anyone, before we end it there? Comments, weird statements. This is your chance for weird statements. Going once, going twice.
Appreciate you showing me all this stuff. I'm going to try to tinker around with it starting the game. Find a series to watch, maybe to help.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. Game sounds are too loud. Well, in there, I don't think they're too loud. Are they too loud on the stream?
I don't know.
I'm not listening to it. I'll take your word for it. All right, but I'm going to end it there. And if you have any questions or comments, throw them in the chat there, Stardog. You can just message me or catch me in a Discord, and I will catch everyone later.
Will do.